Okay, so I just had a weird issue happen. Okay, so tell me why. I went to patient first and I told them, I was like, okay, I need like a physical done for this job that I'm applying to because they require me to have this piece of paper signed that says like I'm healthy, I'm in good shape, I could lift 50 pounds, whatever, just for emergency purposes, blah blah blah. So I needed that form signed by a doctor. So I don't have an actual doctor, like a primary physician or anything. And I was like, damn, like I guess I gotta go to patient first. And I haven't been there in years, keep that in mind. So as soon as I go to patient first, it's like I see it's all new and high tech. And by high tech, I just mean you sign in on a screen, because I feel like I'm getting old to the point where I remember going to the doctors and I had to fill out like all this paperwork, like physical paperwork and all that stuff. But now they just have a screen in the waiting room. But before I even signed in on the screen, I asked the receptionist, I was like, do you guys do like physicals here? Because I'm thinking, like, when I think of as physical, I think of like what you had to do when you were playing sports. You know, you had to like bend down for the doctor to like to prove that your spine works properly, and then they had to like see if your arms and legs work properly. I don't know what a physical is because I didn't even play sports for real. But I asked the receptionist, I was like, do you do physicals here? And she was like, oh no, like I don't think we do. And I was like, I was annoyed because I'm like, I literally just called 2 days ago and y'all said you do physicals. So I know you do physicals. So I don't know why she was lying to me. So I asked her that, and then she was like, let me go check for you. And I was like, yeah, go check. I'm not leaving because I don't have another doctor to go to. So she comes back and she's like, oh yeah, we do physicals actually, just go ahead and sign in on the screen. And then I just did like the basic sign in information, like, you know, my name, my phone number, what I'm here for, blah blah blah. And then this other receptionist, after that, like after like 5 minutes or so, she pulls me into the other room and she's basically like, okay, like I need all your information. So I give her my insurance card, and I'm still under my parents' insurance because I'm not 26 yet, right? And I've always used my parents' insurance whenever I gotta go to like the doctor or the dentist or like, you know, basic stuff like that. So I gave her my insurance card. She's asking me for like my social, all my information, blah blah blah. And then at the end of it, she's like, okay, you need to swipe your card here, and then that's when they're going to charge you, because like they're going to charge you whatever insurance doesn't cover or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, because in my mind I'm thinking like I'm here for a regular doctor's visit, this can't be like more than $50, right? So worst case scenario, I'll get charged $50, and then, you know, insurance will cover like 50% of it, 80% of it, whatever. So I swipe my card, and then she's like, okay, you wait for the doctor. And at patient first, they always have long ass waiting times. I don't know why, because that's what I was like skeptical about, because the parking lot was full of cars. But then when I walked into the waiting room, there's only me and this other guy in the waiting room. So I'm thinking like, oh, it can't be that long. Like, is it just one of those like scenarios like how the NPCs like were in like a simulation and they're just random cars in the parking lot? But anyways, that's just me overthinking, right? So I go finally get called to the back, and you know, they take my weight and my height, whatever, that's for 5 minutes, and then she puts me in a room. In the room, they have curtains to them, but like all the curtains are opened, right? So my curtain was opened. I was just sitting in the chair, not like sitting on the bed or anything. So I'm sitting in the chair. Next thing I know, it's like an hour and 30 minutes go by, and I'm like, it gets to the point where I'm like standing up. So I don't know if they just only came over to me just because I was standing up. I was like looking out the door. I was playing with all the stuff in the room because I'm like, I don't want to just sit here. Then they're going to forget about me like they usually do. So I was just making a scene at that point. So then the doctor finally comes in. He closes the curtain. And he's like, okay, how can I help you today? And I tell him, I'm like, bro, I just need you to sign this paper. Like, I don't even need to do a physical for real. Like, I used to work at Aldi. I was lifting all these boxes. Like, I know I'm in shape, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need a physical. So all he does is like, he uses his like stethoscope or whatever. He makes me do deep breaths. And then he's like, okay, I'll get the paper signed for you. So that literally takes 5 minutes. And then he comes back and I see that he just scribbled on the paper. And I was like, oh, okay then. And then I leave, right? So tell me now, it's been like 2 weeks after that. Patient first sends me a text message and they're like, oh, we're gonna be billing you $250 for that last visit. And I was like, who? Not me. So right away I called the patient first, like the receptionist or whatever, and then I tell her that I'm like, why are they gonna be charging me $250? And she's like, she basically said like, girl, that's not my problem. And then she just gave me the number to their billing agency. So I call the billing agency and then I'm on hold for literally 15 minutes and then somebody answers and she sounds exhausted, and I would understand like working at customer service is exhausting, like answering phones all day, listening to these people's problems or whatever. That's why I'm not built for that job. But anyways, I tell her, I'm like, I need help, obviously. And then she's like, okay, what's your account number? And I was like, I don't have an account number. And she was just like, okay, what's your first and last name? And I'm like, bitch, come on, bro. But I understand she's probably been on the phones since like 7 a.m. Who knows? So I gave her all the information and I basically tell her, I'm like, yeah, so they're going to be billing me like $250. I don't know why. Like, I just went for a basic visit. And she was like, oh yeah, that's like not our problem. You gotta call insurance because I guess like insurance probably didn't cover you because that's the amount for like a standard visit. And I'm thinking like, huh? Like, why would my parents' insurance not cover me when it's covered me like all these years, you know? So I was just annoyed at that. And then I had to call the insurance and they were basically like, oh yeah, we do cover you. We do cover basic visits. And I'm thinking like, so why did patient first just tell me they don't cover me? You know? So now I'm like confused. So I'm wondering if patient first, they probably put my visit under like a physical or something instead of like a standard like health visit, you know? And then maybe that's why insurance didn't cover it because the title was like a physical or something. So now I'm thinking like, I'm not trying to have to pay that $250, you know, because that's like my hard-earned money, and a regular doctor's visit should not be that much even if insurance didn't cover it, you know. That's kind of ridiculous to me. So at that point I'm like, do I just cancel my damn card so they don't charge me, or try and like dispute it or whatever? Because the lady who made me swipe my card, she did not tell me like the minimum cost or whatever, because if she would have said like, oh, if insurance doesn't cover you, you'll probably got to pay like over $100, I would have just walked out at that point. I wouldn't have gone to patient first. I would have tried and found some other like small doctor chain or something like that, because over $100 just to have my piece of paper signed for 2 seconds, I ain't doing that. So at this point, I guess I do need to get like a regular doctor, but I feel like they probably would have charged me a lot for that too. So I'm thinking like, damn, like this is what life is without insurance. That's crazy. Like now I understand how he will be struggling, like having to pay everything like out of pocket without insurance.